Officials are warning residents to be prepared for possible flooding with rain, freezing rain, and snow in the forecast. And there's also a special weather statement to add to it. Anwar, I know you've been following this. What's going on?
Well, it's going to be very active, and that'll all start up later on tonight, Nathan. And this will linger right through into Sunday morning before we start to see some improvements. So we'll break it all down for you in just a moment. But let's start on a bright note. We're going to help discover some treasures, maybe for some of our viewers at home as we broadcast live here at Museum. Now, this is not the museum in a traditional sense. It's actually the storefront for the Great Canadian Roadshow. So they have teams that literally travel the country, inviting Joe Public to maybe bring what they believe might be worth something. Could have been through inheritance. Maybe it was in a box up in the attic. And to discover possibly some treasures, and it's all for free. And there's some great stories there. And it's not just jewelry and coins and maybe some silverware. Things like even toys can be worth lots of money, or instruments. So we're going to tell that story today. It's going to be a fascinating look. In fact, coming up, we're going to show you a coin that's worth literally tens of thousands of dollars. We'll be chatting with Daniel in just a moment. This is so fascinating as we broadcast live at Museum. You know, the thing is, it doesn't have to be big to be worth lots. Daniel Ilmer is joining us here. Now, this is interesting. You just received this from somebody who came in. Tell me the story about it.
Yeah, so a client came in with an assortment of gold coins and gold jewelry, kind of stuff that they didn't really know what was there. And as I was going through it, I found this one coin, which is a quarter gold eagle from the American States. It's the Indian head variation.
And that's what it's listed as?
That's literally the name of it. And what makes this one so unique and rare, it was actually minted in Denver. So it's what's called a 1911 D, which is literally one of the rarest American coins.
When you say rarest?
Very, very low mintage.
Yeah.
And I'm talking literally, it can range between 5,000 all the way up to 30 or 40,000, just depending on the condition. So once I saw this coin, my initial reaction was, let's get this graded, let's authenticate it, and then we're going to sell it on your behalf. And this way, we know you're going to get the most money in your pocket.
This could be potentially worth $30,000?
In my opinion, it's easily going to clear 20,000.
I hope it doesn't go missing between now and noon and 1 today. We're going to have your full forecast and continue our tour here live on CTV News at noon. Stay with us. Wow, and it's so small.
Given the weather we are bracing for this weekend, it might be a good time to be holed up inside and start digging into your basement, your storage for potentially hidden treasures.
I was thinking the same thing, either my basement or my parents' basement. Could be something good in there. Hey, Anwar.
Well, you know what the thing is? At the end of the day, if nothing else, you want to remove it out of the basement if your area is prone to flooding, because localized flooding is going to be an issue, guys, this weekend, with some areas maybe seeing over 75 millimeters of rain. But thank you so much for that. I find this fascinating. You know, we look at some of the valuables. Maybe people would think, yeah, a coin, you could see that. But it is amazing what is considered rare and collectible. And that's where I want to start off with you, Daniel. What makes something rare and collectible?
So there's a very common misconception that the older something is, automatically the more valuable it is. But really what it comes down to is scarcity. How many of this specific item are there? And then after that, then condition is the biggest factor. So it's really those two pieces that we're always looking for.
But at the end of the day, it's also dictated on somebody who wants it, right?
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, like you said, it's about money. So there has to be an end user who's willing to pay a certain amount of money. And that's really our goal, is to set you up with a collector, somebody who's going to pay top dollar, not just a dealer who's looking to buy it for 10 and sell it for 20.
Right. Let's walk through some of the things. Sports memorabilia, that's a pretty easy one, but it has to be authenticated, right?
Absolutely. I mean, and the biggest thing when it comes to sports memorabilia is knowing whether or not it's real and authentic. So anybody can say that this was a hockey stick from this guy, or this was a jersey worn by this guy, but until you actually have some sort of provenance, which is what we call in our industry, some sort of proof that it actually happened. So for example, if you have a picture of you getting that autograph, or the more common way is to take it to a sports authentication service. And what that does is they look at the stuff all day long, and they can verify based on literally the swoop of the L in the signature, whether it's consistent. Yes.
They know what the signature looks like, and they would then give you the COA, as you guys call it, Certificate of Authenticity.
Exactly. And it literally, it can change the value of something by thousands of dollars.
That's something. Now, this is interesting. We all have toys, if you have kids especially, maybe something you've kept from when you were a child. But you were mentioning off air that it's not necessarily the toy itself.
And this is actually one of my favorite areas when it comes to this industry. So what we have here are old die-cast cars. There's a dinky car here. This is a corgi, and then these are dinkies as well. Now, what I always found the most amazing is sometimes an empty box can actually sell for 2 to 10 times more than the actual item itself. And the reason for that is because it's so rare to get a box in this good condition, because obviously it's meant for playing. So they destroy it very, very quickly. So that to me was kind of my biggest eye-opener of, wow, there are really some serious collectors out there who just want a pristine, beautiful piece.
Now, does that mean people would buy just the box? It doesn't have to come necessarily with the toy?
Oh, absolutely. And they'll message me saying, you better make sure you stuff it with Kleenex and bubble wrap it and you protect it. I want $20 of packaging going into this box.
I think I've solved the recycle problem. You know, this is amazing. We're going to continue our storytelling and tour.
It's a great day.
Hey, do you have a $5 Canadian bill from 1954? Maybe you have the devil's face one. It could be worth $500, $400. And explain why.
So what happened was, in the original 1954 minting, they actually minted the bill, and people started complaining that they could see a devil's face in the hair. So stay with me here. Horn, horn, eyes, eyes, nose, and a mouth. So ever since that started happening, more and more complaints happened. They decided to actually reprint. Yeah, they actually modified the portrait, that's what it's called, and printed that bill, which made all devil's face much more collectible. So if you have an old bill that has the devil's face variation in high condition, oh, it can go for thousands and thousands of dollars. It just depends on the specific year, the specific variation, the specific signature.
And conditions.
And conditions, the name of the game.
Isn't that something? I'll never look at the Queen the same again. We're going to have a forecast recap after the short break. Stay with us.
But we are about to get a serious dose of weather, Anwar.
Lots of rain, and that freezing rain, that'll probably be the most problematic thing in terms of ice accretion, maybe some power outages in tandem with the strong winds. Just before we give you a recap, I wanted to give you one final note, Daniel, on jewelry. This is, you're saying, probably worth over 20 grand?
Easily worth over 20 grand. So what this is a very intricate peacock design. It's 22 karat Indian gold jewelry, and it's typically custom made specifically just for the bride for her wedding day.
Isn't that something? If you want more information, museum.ca. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you for that, Daniel. And I hope you did find that small coin.